Chemtrails, they're everywhere. They pollute our skies with their chemicals and metals. Just look up and you'll see them. And here on Long Island we're not immune from them. Chemtrail sprayers drawing lines at every time of day. Lines that mark up the sky, crisscrossing, going back and forth. Planes so far up that they appear only as a dot in the sky, expertly camouflaged, unless you zoom in on them, and see them for what they really are, as they mix chemicals and metals that ultimately drift down into the air we breathe, onto the ground from which we grow our food, and into the water we drink. There's a method to their madness. A pattern that emerges as they repeat their flight paths, as they mark up the sky for additional sprayers to come and spray more. They are not passed by time. One can catalog their passing remotely. You can see the result as time goes by, as they further pollute the sky, and catch a glimpse of what they're up to. What's in a chemtrail? That's what I wanted to find out. It took a lot of time. And the more I looked, the more I saw. And over time I became an expert at finding the anomalies. I gave them names based on what they looked like. The names are unique to me. Perhaps you call them something different, but it doesn't matter what they're called. With so many different kinds of rainbows, I did a little research. It's probably something you already know. Or don't. But here's the facts. Rainbows appear as water vapor in the air. As the sun shines through, the water droplets act as a prism, separating the spectrum of light into its component wavelengths. It's a scientific fact. All rainbows appear exactly as every other rainbow. The red wavelength is the highest, so red always appears at the top of a rainbow. Then orange, then yellow, then green, blue, and sometimes purple, or violet. Thus ultraviolet light. This is an undeniable scientific fact. And yet the rainbows that I was seeing were backwards. They were upside down in the color spectrum. How could that be? Because they were not created by water vapor. They were created by something else. Sure, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a weatherman, an engineer, a physicist, a chemist, or an electrician. But there are things about these subjects that I do understand. And a pattern, a process, began to develop in my mind that would explain what I was seeing in the sky. Another phenomena I call auras, which are some kind of combination of the electric rainbow and fusion effect. Also related to these are halo rainbows. Wind blows these metals and chemicals in the chemtrails and creates friction. The metals rub together and become magnetized. That's what happens when you take two pieces of metal and rub them together. The electrons in them line up and result in a magnet. A positive and a negative charge. Point them one way and they stick together like glue. Turn one around and they repel each other. And where you have magnetism you also have electricity. You can't have one without the other. It's impossible. So we essentially have giant magnets in the sky in the form of chemtrails. And the more dense the chemtrail, the greater the effect. Electromagnetism. As a result we get square rainbows, straight rainbows, electric rainbows, halo rainbows, auras, fusion, or electric fusion. With electromagnetic chemtrails in the sky you end up with electric chemtrails. And where you have electric chemtrails you have electric current running through them. And as a result you have electric discharges, which explains the chemtrails in the shape of electric discharges. And then you have the effect of the sun. There's more than geoengineering going on in the sky. Notice that electric rainbows, chembows as some people call them, all appear in a fixed spot based on the position of the sun in relation to your position on Earth. As the Earth rotates so the electric rainbows appear to move. But slowly. Even if the chemtrails were not there the potential for the rainbow would still exist, but they don't appear until the chemtrail moves between you and the sun. Then the electric rainbow appears. Always in a fixed position. Sometimes faint because of the thin density of the chemtrail. Sometimes strong because of the thick density of the chemtrail. I believe the sky is filled with the potential for these rainbows because there's so much chemtrail debris up there. As opposed to electric rainbows you have another phenomenon I call fusion, or electric fusion. These occur inside the chemtrail itself, and so the fusion, the mixing of the electrons and protons in the metals, stays with the chemtrail as it moves across the sky, and becomes more prominent the closer to the sun it gets. By closer I mean closer in perspective between you looking up and the sun's position. There's an actual electrical process going on in the chemtrail. Not nuclear fusion, but electric fusion. Charged particles mixed with metals in the chemtrail that become visible. You might have seen this in my YouTube video, Chemtrail Filaments in an Electric Sky. And I have more, better examples of this coming in a future part of this series. All chemtrails are electric, no matter the shape. Here you see the actual electric discharge of the current flowing through the chemtrails. Like a spark or branches of lightning, they flow outward to relieve the buildup of electric energy. And here you see the recharging of chemtrails to build up the current flowing through them again. Something I've noticed is the fact that the chemtrail sprayers typically do is they spray either towards the sun, away from the sun, across the sun, or beside the sun, knowing that the chemtrail will drift across the sun. They do this on purpose to cause these electric effects. But I couldn't tell you why. What I can say is that I've noticed that they're now doing this in regard to the moon. You'll see a little of this in the anomalies video. This video series is broken down into 5 sections. First is this video, the theory. Second is chemtrail types. Third is electric rainbows. Fourth is auras and fusion. And fifth is anomalies, which are phenomena that you don't typically see repeated over and over again, but that are interesting effects regardless.